When we first started talking about this series, this is the first of a series of conversations called The Art of the Long View, the point that I had was that it seemed to me that most of the media investment conferences that the three of us go to focus very much on the next 2 quarters, or the next 2 weeks, as Gordon says. And so we thought it would be helpful at an institution like Annenberg, which is not really focused on that, to have a long view of this. And so today, I'm really pleased to have our first 2 guests to really think about what the media company of the next 10, 15 years is going to look like. There's about 1 billion broadband subscribers in the world today, projected to go to 2 billion. What would be wrong with assessing a global copyright license fee at the ISP level of $3 or $4 a month, and pulling it all in, and just like ASCAP and BMI, by sampling first and then eventually by the routers reading the actual watermarks of everything, doling it out amongst the people who own the copyrights? Anybody have any thoughts?
It would be fantastic for the media industry. Whether or not it's politically viable is a different question, but in terms of, it'd be a great thing for the media business.
I don't. I've never really thought of. I've never heard it proposed, and I don't know quite how it would work.
I actually think it is the most exciting time to enter the media business, and I think it is a time of. I think there will be more jobs than there have ever been. I think there'll be more opportunities. I think there'll be more challenges. I think, honestly, it's going to be much harder than when I did it. But, I think it's the most exciting time in the world to be 23 years old.
Models will evolve because people today are consuming more news than they ever consumed. They're listening to more music than they ever listened to, and they're watching more video than they ever did. But the business models are going to change. Those of you who are training to be journalists, what you're doing, don't get it confused with our doer outlook on the actual model of economic model of a newspaper company. What you do as a journalist is one of the most important professions that we have. You cannot have a functioning democracy. You cannot have a functioning democracy at all, and you can't have a functioning democracy in a city like Los Angeles, which is one of the most multicultural places in the world, without the spotlight of great journalism.
The people who can begin to figure out 2 things, who can begin to figure out how to produce that level of quality more economically. And there's an easy way to do that. You're just going to stop paying people a lot of money. And that's going to happen easily. You're going to see salary levels come way down. But there's going to be various digital technologies employed that are going to be able to help bring down the cost of production. But then the other thing is figuring out new ways to cobble together different financing schemes are going to be big opportunities in the years ahead, because the size of the audience and the appetite of the audience is only going to grow.
Time Warner just spun off their cable division.
Right.
They are going to sell their print division. They're going to spin off AOL. And they're just going to be Warner Brothers, HBO, and the Turner networks.
Right.
Now, they will make acquisitions, because Peter's right. There's going to be a winnowing out process. But they're probably going to buy just stuff in their wheelhouse. In my portfolio, because I run a diversified portfolio, I love India, Brazil, China. Where I have to own U.S. companies, I like U.S. companies that have a large part of their revenues outside the United States. There's no question that the next 25 years that, pick a number, 75% of the incremental growth of the global GDP is going to come in the emerging markets. That's where the people are, that's where the unmet needs are, that's where the flow of capital is going, and they're not over-levered. And so that's where the growth is going to be.
Every television in America within a few years will be IP enabled. Right. You're going to sort of see, beginning at CES this year, they're all going to have IP connections, and all of a sudden your television set is going to be your computer.